I miss villains like Pitch Black. Recently, I watched for the first time the 2012 movie called Rise of the Guardians. I don't know why it took me so long to finally sit down and watch this underappreciated gem, as I've heard tons of good things about it even way back when it first released. Maybe because of all the Jack and Elsa fanfics that spawned from the darkest pits of hell, but I digress. This movie has been talked about a lot, from its protagonist to its themes, but the one thing that I personally haven't seen a lot of are discussions regarding him. It is no secret in this channel that I am fascinated by villains more in any type of media, especially in the animated side of things. And I decided to watch this movie purely because I wanted to know more about this being over here, this dark, foreboding presence that engulfs every scene he's in darkness. And I am not disappointed by it. Though Pitch Black may not be the best thing out of the movie, surprisingly, he is, however, a contributing factor to my enjoyment. Watching him now just sent me back to a time where villains like him were considered as the gold standard, the pure evil villain. Now, if you're new here to the channel, firstly, welcome and hit that subscribe button for more and consistent uploads. And more importantly, I want to refer you to this video of mine to get to know why I love and miss pure evil villains so much. Now, let's get into the meat on why Pitch Black is such a welcome reminder on what a pure evil villain can bring to the table. Spoiler warning, of course. To begin, let's just gush over how tough that name is. Pitch Black. If I ever become a wrestler, I want my ring name to be just that. He is presented to us as the main villain of the movie pretty early on, introduced as somewhat of a bad omen, enveloping a hologram of the world in pure, complete darkness, making Russian Santa over here shocked and fear. Throughout the opening minutes, Pitch, as he was referred to, was treated like a myth more than anything. His resurrection was met with equal parts doubt and dread by the Guardians, as they cannot believe that a foe they've defeated before not only has come back, but also is now believed to be stronger than ever, ready to engulf the world. Immediately, without even seeing him on screen yet, the basis of what an effective pure evil villain is established. Pitch is an overwhelming threat with a single-minded goal, communicated by the reaction we got from the forces that oppose him. And when we do get to finally see him at center stage, it was the perfect mix of intrigue and apprehension. I think this is a good place to talk about it. His design is simple. Almost too much, to be honest, but it lends itself greatly to how he is presented in the film. His face a pale gray, his long, thin, sharp figure clothed in a black garb that makes it easy for him to shroud himself in darkness. He does look the part, your typical animated villain. However, as we all know, the visuals are just one part of the presentation, because the way this entity moved and talked was the perfect complement to his character, and it really elevated him to menace status. Throughout the film, he held this menacing aura about him. He had a mixture of calm control over his adversaries and explosive bursts of passionate hate whenever he spoke. His dialogue was threatening, as it too was shrouded in darkness and mystery. But it was also well spoken in a posh accent, a telltale sign of manipulation and gaslighting, as was trademarked to any self-respecting pure evil villain. I loved the delivery of his lines, the monologuing, the trash talk, even during the times when his power is contested and he tries to sneak his way out of the mess he got himself into. It was nostalgic. No complex personality, no delusions of him seeing himself as the hero, no pretentious writing. Just clean, simple villainy. And for those who argue that he isn't all evil, that he has redeemable qualities, or God forbid that he is a sympathetic villain with complex motivations, I want to refer you to this video of mine now. To really understand how this character operates as a pure evil villain, I want us to break down his reasonings and motivations as a villain. Some of you might say that he is a sympathetic villain because of the tragedy that fueled his plan to enshroud the world in darkness. But before that, I want to give you a brief background into the lore of the world this film was set in. In this world, there are entities that hold certain power like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, and said power is tied directly to the number of children that believed in them. And in ancient times, before the birth of these quote-unquote good entities, there was darkness. And from that rose the boogeyman, Pitch Black. He ruled over the world through fear, his power directly tied to the belief that he is real, that he hides in the dark crevices, that he will come for you. However, as the belief of Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and even good sleep became prevalent, children were given enough hope to fight back against the boogeyman, pushing him into obscurity and ultimately into non-existence. This initial defeat of him is what stokes the fire of his malevolence. And some people, especially on the TikTok edits I watch, find this to be reason enough for him to be sympathetic, that he isn't all evil. If you watch my video, I don't consider just any villain that has a somewhat sad or pitiful backstory a sympathetic villain. Pitch is somewhat tragic, but he is evil. You mean to tell me that losing his power of giving children nightmares and fading into obscurity is a cause for sympathy? Bruh. He is pure evil through and through. The markings of one is that the origin or the backstory is rarely relevant to the villainy they commit. His origin is one of malice. His motivation is simply just revenge, to take back the power he once lost. And for most, this seems to be a boring one-dimensional character, but that's what made him so fun. His unhinged actions towards that goal made him a terrifying enemy to face off with, for he doesn't have anything holding him back in doing malicious actions. Also, Pitch doesn't need to be complex to offer something to the story than just another obstacle to jump over. His simple motivation was enough to make him into the perfect foil for the main character of the story, Jack Frost. You see, in the movie, Jack's main scar is that he is unpopular enough to not be seen by kids. Just like Pitch, they both are unseen, both forgotten, playing second fiddle for the more well-known concepts. For Jack, it has been 300 years since he was brought into the world, and for 300 years, he has not been recognized by the children, something that he has been bitter about. Knowing this, Pitch poked at this vulnerability whenever they interact, trying his best to convert Jack to his side, coercing him to the best of his abilities. What's more is that when he didn't succeed, he used this vulnerability to tear Jack down psychologically, all of his doubts and anxieties about himself coaxed out and aimed at him. Mercilessly, Pitch brandished Jack's kindred situation as a weapon. Being a pure evil villain, it made him more reflective as a foil for Jack, as he could have easily walked the same path as Pitch, to be a bitter specter plotting revenge against those who have forgotten him, giving fanfiction writers a lot more material for their dream bad boy. What made Pitch such an effective antagonist as well is the fact that he came very close to achieving his goal of world domination. Too many times it seems in the modern age do we get wimpy pushover villains that don't do shit throughout the movie, which made revisiting this movie such a refresher that pure evil villains back in the day got things done. His plan to overthrow the balance of the world and spread fear and distress among all children was so wide-scale and well thought out, done by simply removing the children's fate in those who had previously brought them hope. One scene in particular that cemented him as a genuine threat was when he literally offed the Sandman, one of the main characters of the movie, effectively giving every child sleep deprivation from nightmares. He also kidnapped millions of tooth fairies and let them rot in cages, broke millions upon millions of Easter bunny eggs, all in the name of making children all over the world lose hope in the entities that preside over these events. Only a pure, maniacal antagonist like this could pull off this kind of third act tension, snuffing out hope from the heroes and pressuring them into their darkest hour. What's even better though is that only a rigid, one-dimensional villain like Pitch could break tremendously when the heroes finally turn the tide. This is what I miss most from villains. No convincing them to change their ways, no sob-fest talk, no jutsu that attempts to switch their side of the playing field, only a clean, loud snap. After Jack and the gang finds out the secret of defeating him, which is by literally resurrecting the Sandman to beat Pitch's ass, Pitch Black still holds firm to his spark, to his motivation. He didn't do a face turn. He just simply broke, and in the cross-section revealed the coward he truly was. As an archetypical pure evil villain, Pitch Black didn't break the mold. For his time, he was an antagonist that got a few cool and menacing shots and some iconic, conniving dialogue along the way, but he wasn't something new. However, looking at him now, especially as the appreciation of DreamWorks and its older villains and the disdain for modern animation and their antagonists grow, Pitch stands as one of the relics of a time where pure evil villains meant something. They meant fear, apprehension, and dread, but they also meant unhinged, untamed fun and entertainment. I wish we still could get villains like him, concept and purpose-wise. Here's hoping that DreamWorks in the future could pull off another classic. That's all for me for now. See you in the next one.